Okay, get this. Right now, as you're listening, your senses, your eyes, ears, everything are just being bombarded. We're talking something like 11 million bits of raw information hitting you every single second. It's an absolute flood.
It really is. And the source material we looked at highlights this incredible paradox. All that data comes rushing in, but your conscious mind, the part you think of as you, it can maybe handle about 50 bits per second.
50, just 50 out of 11 million. That ratio is kind of mind-bending, isn't it? Like 100 million to 1 input versus what you're actually aware of.
Exactly. So most of what's happening around you and even inside you gets edited out before you're even conscious of it.
Which sounds like a flaw, but it's not, right? It's how we survive.
Precisely. Imagine trying to consciously process all 11 million bits. You wouldn't be able to move. You'd like stand at the curb for 10 minutes just deciding if it's safe to cross the street. So this editing, it's essential.
Okay, but it comes with a catch. This necessary editing shapes our reality. So our mission in this deep dive is to really get under the hood, identify the brain's 3 main editing tricks. Deletion, distortion, and generalization, and understand the big boss behind it all. Confirmation bias.
Yeah, confirmation bias is like the director of this whole editing process. Its main job is efficiency. It loves information that confirms what you already believe.
And it hates anything that challenges those beliefs.
It treats challenges like a threat, almost, because questioning deeply held beliefs takes up valuable processing power. The sources mention even a simple chat uses around 40 bits per second of your conscious bandwidth.
Wow, so you literally don't have the mental spare capacity to constantly reevaluate everything you believe. It's too expensive.
That's the core idea. It's easier, mentally cheaper, to stick with what you know.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with just how big this filtering job actually is.
What's fascinating here is really grappling with that bandwidth limit. That 11 million bits coming in versus the, maybe 50 bits you consciously process. The analogy we often use is spot on, trying to drink from a fire hose using just a tiny straw.
So the mental shortcuts, the heuristics, they're basically unavoidable then.
Pretty much. They're survival tools for making quick decisions. We wouldn't function without them.
But isn't there a danger? If these filters are so necessary, maybe trying to fight them does more harm than good.
That's the really crucial point. The filters themselves aren't bad. They stop us from being overwhelmed. The problem comes when these automatic, unconscious filters start building limiting beliefs or biases we don't even see.
And we know this happens unconsciously. I was reading about those experiments, the ones with the fearful faces shown too fast to consciously see.
Oh yeah, those are fascinating. People swear they saw nothing, but their amygdala, the brain's sort of threat detector, it still lights up.
So the alarm bells ring before you're even aware there's a threat.
Exactly. Your unconscious mind is already filtering and reacting, shaping your emotional reality before your conscious mind even gets the memo. And that's why confirmation bias feels so natural, that the system is built to prefer the expected.
Okay, let's get into the specific filters. First up, deletion. This one sounds pretty straightforward.
It is, in concept. Deletion is the brain literally just erasing chunks of information from your awareness. It's the main tool for getting from 11 million bits down to 50.
But it's not random deletion, is it?
Not at all. It's highly selective. Deletion works overtime to get rid of information that contradicts your strong opinions, your existing beliefs, your self-image.
Give me an example, like at work.
Okay, imagine you think a colleague isn't very competent. They give a presentation, and maybe 90% of it is brilliant, but there's one shaky moment. Your deletion filter might just erase the 90% and leave you focusing only on that one stumble, confirming your pre-existing belief.
Right. Or in a relationship, maybe your partner drops hints about wanting something, but if it doesn't fit your idea of what they should want, you just delete the hints. You don't even register them.
Exactly. And this leads to completely different realities. Two people can be in the same meeting, hear the same words, but because they're deleting different pieces of information based on their own biases, they walk away with totally different takeaways, both absolutely convinced they heard the real story.
That explains a lot of arguments. So how do we catch ourselves doing this? Are there clues?
Yes, language gives us clues. The source material suggests listening for absolute words. When you hear yourself or someone else using words like always, never, everybody, nobody, impossible, that's a huge red flag.
Why?
Because reality is rarely that black and white. Using an absolute almost always means you're deleting the exceptions, the nuances, the contradictory evidence to make the statement fit.
Got it. So watch out for those all or nothing words.
Okay, so deletion is about information vanishing. But what about when the information gets through, but it gets twisted? That brings us to the second filter, right? Distortion.
Right. Distortion is maybe more subtle, more creative. It doesn't just remove information, it changes it, bends it, exaggerates it to fit what you expect or believe.
Like the classic example. You see a coat hanging on the back of a door in a dark room.
And for a split second, you perceive it as an intruder. Your brain didn't delete the visual input of the coat shape. It actively distorted that shape into a perceived threat based on, maybe fear or anxiety.
And here's where it gets really interesting. You were saying distortion messes with our memories too.
Oh, fundamentally. We like to think memory is like a video recording, right? Accurate, stable. But the research shows it's much more like a sketch that your brain redraws every single time you access it.
Redraws it?
Yeah, it smooths things out, maybe adds details that fit your current mood or beliefs, or drops things that don't. It's constantly being subtly revised. The sources mention those studies on eyewitness testimony, how just feeding someone incorrect information after an event can actually change their memory of the event itself.
Exactly. Their brain distorts the original memory to incorporate the new, maybe contradictory information. They then swear that the distorted version is what they actually saw. It's quite unsettling.
Okay, so how does this show up in everyday conversation? Are there language patterns for distortion too?
Absolutely. NLP models highlight several common ones, things like mind reading.
Mind reading, like psychic powers.
No, it's when you act like you know what someone else is thinking or feeling without any real evidence, saying something like, "She thinks I'm incompetent." You've distorted the situation by assuming her internal state.
Or cause-effect errors, like saying, his attitude makes me angry.
Precisely. You're distorting reality by claiming his attitude directly causes your emotion. You're ignoring your own internal process, your interpretation. That actually leads to the anger. His attitude is just a trigger, not the cause.
And complex equivalence. That sounds complex.
It's simpler than it sounds. It's just linking two separate things as if they mean the same thing. The example often used is, he's late, so he doesn't respect me.
Ah, right. Lateness is a fact. Disrespect is an interpretation, a judgment. They aren't inherently linked.
Exactly. Traffic could make someone late. An emergency could make someone late. But the distortion filter jumps straight to the negative, meaning disrespect. Because maybe that fits a pre-existing insecurity or belief about the relationship.
And the last one you mentioned from the sources, presuppositions.
Yeah, that's building an assumption into a statement or question. Asking someone, when will you stop being so stubborn? It presupposes they are stubborn and that they should stop. It frames the conversation around your distorted view.
This is sneaky stuff. It's not just ignoring facts like deletion, it's actively rewriting them to fit the narrative.
That's the real danger, especially with confirmation bias. Take an investor who's decided a particular stock is a winner. When they see mixed data, the distortion filter doesn't just ignore the negative signals.
It reframes them.
It actively reinterprets them. A dip becomes a buying opportunity. Warning signs become short-term noise. The neutral or even negative data gets twisted into more evidence confirming their initial decision.
Wow. Okay, that leads us to the third editor, generalization. This feels like the one we rely on most, maybe. The one-size-fits-all filter.
It's essential for learning and efficiency, absolutely. We touch a hot stove once, we generalize, hot surfaces burn. That keeps us safe. We don't need to test every single hot surface.
Right, useful, but where does it go wrong?
It goes wrong when we take tiny bits of evidence, often just one experience, and blow it up into a massive sweeping rule about ourselves or the world.
Like having one bad presentation and deciding, I'm terrible at public speaking, full stop.
Exactly. Or one relationship ends badly and the generalization becomes, I'm just not good at relationships, or even, all men, women are untrustworthy. You're taking a single data point and making it a universal law.
And the sources really emphasized how damaging these can be when they become identity-level generalizations.
Oh, hugely. Because they stop being about what you do and start being about who you are. I'm not creative, I'm not smart enough, I'm unlucky.
And outwardly too, right? Like stereotypes. Older workers can't handle technology. That's a generalization based on maybe limited exposure, and it poisons workplace dynamics.
Absolutely. And the really insidious part is once you make that generalization say, I'm bad at public speaking, confirmation bias kicks in with a vengeance.
How so?
Your brain now actively looks for evidence to prove that generalization right. Every minor slip-up in a conversation becomes proof. Any successful communication gets deleted or distorted. Oh, that didn't count. It was just luck. It creates this vicious, self-fulfilling cycle.
A cycle that's really hard to break because, like you said, challenging it takes up that precious mental energy.
It really does. Fighting against a deeply ingrained generalization feels like swimming upstream against that massive current of 11 million bits, wanting to keep things simple and predictable.
Okay, so we've got the editors, deletion, distortion, generalization, and the director, confirmation bias. They're always running, they're necessary, but they can seriously limit us. So how do we start taking charge? How do we manage the editing suite?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the key isn't to eliminate the filters we can't, and we wouldn't want to. The power comes from awareness. Understanding that the filtering is happening gives you the chance to intervene consciously.
To challenge the automatic process.
Exactly. To deliberately allocate some of that limited 50-bit bandwidth to questioning the output of the filters.
So what are the practical strategies? The sources laid out a few key ones. Number one, seek opposing viewpoints.
Yes, this isn't just about, casually reading an article you disagree with. It's about actively, deliberately hunting for the smartest, most compelling evidence that contradicts your strongly held beliefs, especially before making an important decision.
How does that help?
It's a direct counter to deletion. You're forcing your brain to process data it would normally just discard because it doesn't fit the preferred narrative. If you're convinced a project will succeed, make yourself read the most pessimistic analysis you can find.
Makes sense. Strategy 2 was the thought journal. Sounds simple, but how does it work against these filters?
It's about becoming a detective about your own thought patterns. Track those recurring negative thoughts, those absolute statements I always mess up, nobody ever listens, those strong emotional reactions. Writing them down makes them concrete.
And that helps you spot the generalization.
Precisely. You see the pattern. Whenever X happens, I jump to the conclusion Y. It also helps uncover distortions. You could look at a belief like, he thinks I'm incompetent, and ask, okay, what's the actual evidence for this versus my interpretation?
Right. It forces you to separate fact from story. Okay, strategy 3, and this sounds like the toughest one. Practice the consider the opposite strategy.
It is challenging because it's a direct assault on the comfort of confirmation bias. You take one of your strongest beliefs, something you feel really certain about, and you deliberately ask yourself, what if I'm completely wrong about this? What would the world look like? Or what would be true if the exact opposite were the case?
Oof. That sounds mentally demanding.
It is. It forces your brain to build an alternative model of reality, to explore consequences outside its comfort zone. It demands that precious bandwidth be used for genuine questioning, not just reinforcing.
And finally, using specific questions to challenge the filters in the moment, like those reframing questions.
Yes, especially useful against distortion. When you catch yourself or someone else making one of those leaps, like the complex equivalence, he's late so he doesn't respect me, you can challenge it directly.
How?
Ask, what other possible reasons could there be for him being late? Or what evidence actually contradicts the idea that this means disrespect? Even a simple internal statement like, okay, wait, I can think about this differently, creates a pause.
It breaks the automatic link between the event and the distorted meaning.
Exactly. It creates space for other interpretations, forcing the distortion filter to take a backseat for a moment.
Okay, so this really brings us back to where we started. We now have a much clearer picture of these 3 powerful cognitive editors: delusion, distortion, generalization, and the director, confirmation bias, that's constantly shaping our reality behind the scenes.
And the crucial takeaway is that your reality will always be filtered. That's just how brains work to cope with the information overload. But understanding the filtering mechanisms gives you agency.
It means you can choose to challenge the filters.
You can choose to be more conscious of them, you can learn to spot them in action, and by doing that, you can deliberately expand what gets through, leading to hopefully better decisions, clearer thinking, maybe stronger relationships.
So what does this all mean? I guess it means the filters are still there, they're still chucking away, processing those millions of bits. But the big difference is, now you know they're there. You can step into the editing suite. So maybe the question to leave everyone with is, which generalization, which comfortable story you tell yourself are you going to deliberately challenge today?